Have you ever wished you could be someone who's unshakable? Someone who moves through life without being wounded by rejection, criticism, loss, or betrayal? Have you ever fantasized about waking up one day and realizing that the pain that silently eats away at you, even when you appear perfectly fine on the outside, has finally disappeared? Maybe you're tired of putting on a brave face, tired of trying to be everything for everyone, tired of pretending that nothing gets to you when, deep down, you're barely holding it together. Maybe what you truly desire isn't more strength, more resilience, or more control, but just one moment of peace. One moment where you don't have to fight so hard to appear untouchable. Because the truth is, behind that image of strength you've worked so hard to maintain, there's a real human being who's exhausted from carrying the weight of emotional survival, and that human being is you. It's a strange thing we do, convincing ourselves that if we become strong enough, detached enough, perfect enough, we will finally be free from pain, as if there's a secret formula to living untouched by the harshness of life. But let me tell you something that perhaps no one else has dared to say to you this directly. The more you try to avoid pain, the more pain controls you. The more you suppress, deny, and numb yourself to avoid feeling, the more enslaved you become to every harsh word, every cold silence, every disappointment that comes your way. And this is not a flaw, it is not weakness. It's simply the reality of being human. Most people feel this way, they just don't talk about it. The difference is, some people have become experts at pretending. They smile while bleeding inside. They look composed while drowning in self-doubt. They walk confidently into rooms, while a storm of fear and inadequacy rages quietly inside them. And maybe that's been you. Maybe you've spent years trying to convince the world and yourself that you're fine, that you don't care what others think, that you've moved on, that you're over it. But every time someone rejects you, criticizes you, or leaves you, something inside still shatters. Why? Because you haven't healed. You've only hidden. You haven't faced what hurts. You've built walls around it, hoping that if you protect it well enough, the pain will disappear. But walls don't heal wounds. They only trap them. And eventually what you try to keep buried will start to rise. It will show up in your anxiety, your overthinking, your self-sabotage, your emotional breakdowns, and the more you pretend not to feel, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You begin to live in a kind of emotional limbo, functional but numb, appearing alive but slowly dying inside. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, once said, "We are not what happened to us, we are what we choose to become." And that quote holds the key to everything. You see, the goal is not to become untouchable by pretending to be strong or by disconnecting from your emotions. True strength doesn't come from avoidance, it comes from awareness. It comes from the willingness to look at yourself honestly, to feel what hurts, to face the parts of you that you've been running from. This is courage, because anyone can wear a mask, anyone can fake composure, but facing your pain, truly sitting with it, and understanding where it comes from, that requires a different kind of strength, the kind that transforms. So let me ask you, who would you be if you stopped running? Who would you be if you finally allowed yourself to feel everything you've been suppressing? Not to dwell in it, but to understand it, to integrate it. Because that's what healing really is, integration. It's not about erasing the pain, or pretending it never happened. It's about bringing that pain into the light, and saying, "I see you, I hear you, and I'm not afraid of you anymore." That's how you begin to reclaim your power, not by numbing yourself to life, but by becoming fully present in it. Pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's trying to show you where you're still holding on to wounds that were never given the space to heal. The truth is, as long as you're afraid of being hurt, you will continue to live in fear. As long as your worth depends on what others say or do, you will always feel insecure. As long as you seek safety in being accepted, validated, or admired, you will always feel at risk of being emotionally destroyed. But the moment you decide to stop hiding, to stop trying to control how others see you, you step into something much more powerful than invincibility. You step into authenticity. And authenticity is what sets you free. When you are no longer afraid to feel, you begin to access a deeper layer of yourself, the part that is whole, wise, and grounded. This part of you knows that you are not defined by your wounds. You are not what people say or don't say about you. You are not your past, your mistakes, your fears, or your brokenness. You are the one who chooses what all of that means, and that means you are never really powerless. Yes, people will still hurt you, life will still bring loss, but when you are rooted in your truth, when you stop pretending and start accepting, you discover that you can move through pain without losing yourself in it. You can hurt and still be whole. You can cry and still be strong. You can fall apart and still rise. So this is not about becoming cold, distant, or indifferent. It's about becoming real. It's about shedding the illusion that you need to be perfect or strong all the time to be worthy of love or respect. It's about giving yourself permission to be human, to feel, to falter, to break, and still be worthy. And in doing that, you begin to build something far more powerful than a mask of strength. You begin to build inner peace. That peace doesn't come from having no problems. It comes from knowing who you are despite them. It comes from no longer needing to hide. That is the beginning of true freedom, and that's where our journey starts. Most people walk through life carrying a war inside them that no one else can see. On the outside, they smile, show up to work, make small talk, take care of responsibilities, but on the inside there's conflict. A quiet, ongoing battle between who they truly are and who they think they're supposed to be, between their real emotions and the face they show the world, between their fears and their desire to be free. It's an invisible war, and it's exhausting. It's the reason you feel tired even when you've done nothing. It's the reason you can't sleep, or why you wake up feeling like you're already behind. Because carrying this inner war, this tension between your truth and your mask, takes energy. It takes everything. You see, most of us weren't taught how to be ourselves. We were taught how to survive. We were taught how to avoid conflict, how to please others, how to fit in, how to stay quiet, how to hide the parts of us that might get us rejected. Maybe you learned early on that your feelings were too much, or that your needs didn't matter. Maybe when you showed vulnerability, someone made you feel ashamed of it. So you started building defenses, habits of shutting down, avoiding intimacy, pretending to be okay when you weren't. You became skilled at looking normal, while silently breaking. And eventually, the mask became so familiar that even you started to believe it was real. But beneath that mask, your true self never disappeared. It's still there, waiting for you to come home, waiting for you to stop pretending, to stop abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. That true self is the part of you that still feels deeply, that still longs for meaning, love, freedom, and truth. It's the part that resists living a fake life, even if the fake life feels safer. That part of you will never die, no matter how far you stray from it. But the longer you ignore it, the more painful life becomes. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because your soul is trying to wake you up. This is what Jung called the shadow, the parts of us we push down, hide or deny, because they don't fit the image we've been taught to present to the world. Your shadow isn't just your anger, shame, or fear. It's also your power, your desire, your truth, anything that didn't feel safe to express. And the more you suppress these parts, the more they distort. Anger becomes bitterness, desire becomes guilt, sensitivity becomes anxiety, confidence becomes arrogance or collapses into insecurity. The shadow, when ignored, doesn't disappear. It mutates, it finds a way to come out, often through patterns you don't understand, sabotaging relationships, numbing with distractions, lashing out, breaking down. It doesn't mean you're broken, it means something inside you is crying out to be seen. Healing starts when you begin to hear that cry, when you stop labeling your feelings as bad or wrong, and start asking, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What am I really afraid of? What have I been running from? These questions are uncomfortable, yes, but they're also the doorway to freedom. You cannot be at peace while at war with yourself, and the only way to end that war is to stop rejecting parts of yourself just because someone once told you they were unlovable. Think of it this way. If you had a child who was scared, confused, or hurt, would you scream at them to shut up? Would you lock them in a room and ignore their pain? Or would you hold them and say, I see you, I'm here for you, you're allowed to feel this way? That's what your inner self is asking for, not punishment, not perfection, just presence, just compassion. But we've been taught to do the opposite. We silence the child within. We ignore our pain, hoping it will just disappear. But emotions that are buried alive never die. They haunt us in ways we don't even realize. They show up in our relationships, our work, our health, our sleep, and they will keep showing up until we finally turn inward and say, okay, I'm ready to listen. This is not about blaming anyone, not your parents, not society, not yourself. Everyone is doing the best they can with what they know. But now that you know this war exists inside you, you have a choice. You can keep pretending everything is fine, or you can begin the brave work of ending the war. That work doesn't start with massive changes. It starts in small moments of honesty, like admitting when you're overwhelmed, instead of powering through, like allowing yourself to cry without shame, like noticing when you're people-pleasing and choosing, instead to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Every time you honor a part of yourself that you used to hide, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Every time you stop apologizing for being who you are, you take a step toward wholeness. And this is the ultimate goal, not perfection, not invincibility, but wholeness, being fully human, feeling the full range of your emotions, without shame, showing up as your real self, even when it's uncomfortable, and most importantly, loving that self, not in some cliché self-care way, but in a grounded, fierce, committed way. The kind of love that says, no matter what happens, I will not abandon myself again. That's how the inner war ends, not with force, not with control, but with truth, with the courage to face the mirror and say, I am enough, even with my mess, even with my fear, even with my broken pieces. This isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning, but from here everything changes, because once you stop fighting yourself, you begin to live, and not just survive, but truly live. We've been sold a lie about what it means to be strong. We were told that strength looks like never breaking, never crying, always being in control. That strength means keeping it all together, no matter what. That strength is being tough, being hard, being unaffected, and so we try. We armor up, we swallow our pain, we push down our feelings, we wear our achievements like shields, hoping no one will notice how tired we are underneath it all. But deep down we know it's not real strength, it's survival. And survival isn't the same as living. Real strength looks different, it's quieter, softer, more honest. Real strength is telling the truth, when it would be easier to lie. It's falling apart and getting back up, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you know you deserve more than a life spent pretending. Real strength is feeling the pain, instead of numbing it. It's letting yourself be seen, even when you're scared. It's choosing to open your heart again after it's been broken. That kind of strength doesn't come from the ego, it comes from the soul. But the world doesn't often reward this kind of strength. In fact, it punishes it. If you show emotion, they call you weak. If you ask for help, they say you're needy. If you speak your truth, they call you difficult or dramatic. So you learn to hide. You learn to be strong in the way they told you, quiet, distant, emotionally numb. And yet the more you live this way, the more disconnected you feel. Disconnected from others, yes, but even more painfully, disconnected from yourself. Here's the truth. No one tells you. The strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who have faced their darkness and refused to become it. The ones who have sat with their fear and shame and grief and didn't run. The ones who kept loving anyway, who kept showing up anyway, who kept choosing healing, even when it would have been easier to stay numb. That's not weakness, that's not fragility, that's courage of the highest kind. And here's something else. You don't have to keep performing strength. You don't have to keep pretending you're okay when you're not. You don't have to carry everything alone, just to prove something to people who don't even understand what you're going through. You can let go. You can put the mask down. You can be human, because true strength includes softness. True strength includes vulnerability. And anything that requires you to deny your humanity is not strength, it's self-abandonment. Think of the people you trust the most. Are they the ones who are always perfect, always composed, always untouched by life? Or are they the ones who are real with you? The ones who admit when they're hurting? The ones who don't try to impress you, but instead invite you in with their honesty? That's the paradox of strength. It's our humanness, not our invulnerability, that creates connection. And connection is what we're all starving for. We're not starving for more perfection. We're starving for realness, for truth, for people who are willing to go beyond the surface, for people who are brave enough to be seen. And that starts with you. It starts when you give yourself permission to stop performing, and start feeling, to stop holding it all in, and start releasing it, to stop proving your worth through suffering, and start honoring your worth by allowing softness. You are not a machine. You are not here to be efficient and impressive and untouchable. You are here to feel, to grow, to break and rebuild, to connect, to love, to create something honest with your life. And you can't do that if you're pretending all the time. You can't do that if you're still trying to fit into someone else's definition of strength. You have to redefine it for yourself. You have to say, for me, strength means showing up with my whole heart, even if it's messy, even if I'm scared. And yes, people might not understand at first. They might resist it, because when you stop performing, it reminds others of the ways they're still performing. When you stop pretending, it shines a light on their masks, and not everyone is ready for that light. But that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your own peace, to your own truth. And here's the good news: when you start living from that place, you begin to attract people who are also living that way. People who aren't afraid of your depth. People who see your softness, not as weakness, but as the sacred gift that it is. You don't have to scream to be strong. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to harden yourself just to survive this world. In fact, the world needs less hardness and more heart, less performance and more presence, less pretending and more permission to feel, to fall, to be real. That's the revolution. That's the new strength. So let yourself be tired. Let yourself not have it all together. Let yourself admit, this is hard. I'm struggling. I need support. And know that in doing so, you're not failing. You're healing. You're growing. You're stepping into a deeper kind of power. One that doesn't depend on being invincible, but on being true. The strongest thing you can do is be yourself in a world that keeps telling you not to be. The most radical act is to feel everything, and still choose love, still choose hope, still choose yourself. So stop trying to carry the whole world on your shoulders. Stop measuring your worth by how much you can endure. You are not here to endure. You are here to live, and to live fully, you have to be willing to feel fully. That's the truth. That's the strength no one teaches, but the one your soul already knows. There's a part of you were taught to hide. A part of you they said was too much, too intense, too sensitive, too wild, too angry, too needy. A part of you they didn't know how to love, so you learned not to love it either. You pushed it down. You locked it away. You told yourself it was wrong, ugly, dangerous, broken. And the more you rejected it, the more it grew in the dark, silently shaping your life behind the scenes. This is the shadow. Not evil, not bad, just the unloved parts of you waiting to be seen. Every time you were shamed for crying, for speaking your truth, for asking for more, for wanting to be held, you buried something sacred. Every time you were told to toughen up, calm down, or stop being so dramatic, you learned to believe your real self was unacceptable. So you fragmented. You created a version of you that felt safer, more likable, more acceptable. But that version isn't the whole story. That version is incomplete, because you are not just light. You are not just calm and kind and put together. You are also fire. You are also storm. You are also longing and rage and grief and hunger. And there is nothing wrong with that. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is the part of you that remembers your truth, even when the world tried to make you forget. It's the part that gets loud when you've been silent for too long. The part that aches when you're pretending to be fine. The part that lashes out when you've ignored your pain for too many days in a row. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to get your attention. It's trying to say, I'm still here. I still matter. Don't leave me behind. We were taught to fear our shadow because other people feared theirs. But your job is not to keep repeating that cycle. Your job is to turn toward the parts you've been avoiding, to sit with the anger and ask what it's really about, to listen to the sadness without trying to fix it, to hold space for the child in you who never got what they needed. That's not weakness. That's sacred work. That's the work that frees you. You don't heal by rejecting the parts of you that hurt. You heal by bringing them into the light, by saying, I see you. I'm not going to run anymore. Because when you stop running from your shadow, you stop being controlled by it. That part of you that sabotages relationships. It's not broken, it's scared. That part of you that explodes in rage. It's not evil, it's wounded. That part of you that numbs out, hides away, disappears. It's not lazy, it's exhausted from carrying pain for so long. Everything your shadow does, it does to protect you. It just learned the wrong language. Now it's your turn to teach it a new one. Shadow work is the quiet revolution. It's choosing to love what you were taught to fear. It's choosing to listen instead of suppress, to integrate instead of exile. And it's not something you do once. It's a lifelong relationship. But the more you face your shadow, the less power it has to hijack your life. You begin to see the patterns, the triggers, the old wounds that keep replaying. And instead of reacting, you start responding. Instead of shame, you offer compassion. Instead of control, you offer curiosity. This is how you take your power back, not by becoming flawless, but by becoming whole. And something magical happens. When you start loving your shadow, you become more real. You become more grounded, more human, more honest. You stop needing to be perfect. You stop performing for love. You stop apologizing for your emotions. And in that space something new grows. Self-respect, self-trust, a deeper sense of belonging. Not because everyone accepts you, but because you've finally accepted yourself. And here's the deeper truth. Your shadow holds gifts. Yes, it carries pain, but also passion, also intuition, also creativity, boundaries, clarity, desire. Everything you've locked away didn't disappear, it just waited. And now it's knocking, asking to be let back in, not to take over, but to be included, to be heard, to be healed. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to stop smiling when your heart is breaking. You are allowed to stop pretending that things don't hurt. You are allowed to be complex, layered, raw, real. You are allowed to be everything you are, not just the parts that are easy to digest. And the more you do this for yourself, the more you allow others to do the same. That's how the world changes, not through shame, but through permission, through example, through someone standing up and saying, "I'm not afraid of my shadow anymore." That's what makes others brave enough to face theirs. And maybe that's what you're here to do, to be the one who breaks the cycle, the one who ends the war between light and dark, the one who becomes whole again. You don't need to fight your shadow, you need to understand it. You need to listen to its story. You need to remember that it was born in a moment of pain, not malice, that it was created to survive. But now you're no longer just surviving. Now you're waking up. Now you're ready to live. And living means being all of you, not just the shiny parts. This is where true peace comes from, not from controlling everything, not from being good all the time, but from knowing you've made room in your heart for every part of you, from no longer needing to hide, from being seen fully, and still choosing love. So go back and find the parts of you left behind. The loud one, the tender one, the angry one, the messy one, the passionate one. Bring them home. Let them know they belong, because they do. You do.
You've always been enough.
Not in spite of your shadow, but with it. There comes a point in every person's life when they realize they've been performing, smiling when they didn't want to, agreeing when they meant to scream, dimming their light so someone else could feel comfortable. You wore masks, not because you were fake, but because you were surviving. Because the world taught you that love was conditional, that acceptance came at a cost. So you adapted.
You became who you thought they needed you to be.
And in doing so, you forgot who you truly were. Maybe you became the good one, the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, who got the gold stars, who made everyone proud.
Or maybe you were the funny one.
The caretaker, the peacemaker, the strong one who never let anything touch them. These masks were not mistakes, they were protection. You wore them to stay safe, to be loved, to avoid rejection. But the truth is, the longer you wear a mask, the more you begin to think it's your face. And yet beneath all of it, something kept calling, a quiet voice whispering, "There's more to me than this." A flicker of rebellion, a surge of grief, a longing you couldn't name. That's the real you, trapped under all the layers. That's the self that never forgot, the self that's still waiting to be remembered. You don't have to hate the masks, they served a purpose. They helped you survive environments where being fully yourself was dangerous or too painful. They were brilliant, in their way, smart strategies for staying connected, staying loved, staying afloat. But they are not who you are. And if you want to live, not just survive, you have to take them off, one by one, gently, lovingly, with courage. Because here's the truth, no one tells you, when you take the mask off, you may lose people. You may disappoint them.
You may scare them.
Some may say you've changed. Some may walk away, and that will hurt. But what's the cost of staying hidden? What does it cost to keep pretending, just so others feel comfortable? What does it cost to silence your truth, your pain, your joy, just to stay acceptable? The cost is your life. The cost is your soul. And that's too high a price to pay. Real freedom doesn't come from being who others want you to be. It comes from reclaiming who you actually are. Messy, beautiful, conflicted, powerful, tender, raw, real. When you start living as your true self, everything changes. You stop chasing approval and start seeking alignment. You stop managing people's perceptions and start listening to your heart. You stop needing to be impressive and start craving authenticity. It's not easy. Sometimes you'll feel like a stranger to yourself. Sometimes you'll mourn the old version of you, the one who got the praise, the one who kept everyone happy. You'll question whether the real you is lovable at all. But here's the miracle. The more you show up as you, the more you attract people who see and love the real thing, not the mask, not the act, but you. And what a relief it is to be loved for who you actually are, to not have to keep up the performance, to let someone see your fears, your flaws, your desires, and stay. That kind of love only finds you when you are willing to drop the mask and say, this is me, all of me. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. It needs more people who have stopped pretending, who are willing to be misunderstood, who are willing to say no, who are willing to be seen in their wholeness. Because when you do that, you give permission to everyone around you to do the same. You become the space where masks can fall off. You become the example that truth is not just survivable. It's liberating. Of course, some masks are harder to take off than others. Some are tied to trauma, to identity, to deep fears of abandonment or failure. That's why this work takes time, patience, compassion. You don't rip the masks off. You peel them back, layer by layer, with tenderness. You ask, why did I need this? Who told me I had to be this way? What am I afraid will happen if I stop performing? And then you breathe, you listen, you hold space, because that fear is real. It comes from real experiences, real wounds, and you don't shame yourself for having them. You honor them, you bring them into the light. That's how they begin to loosen their grip. That's how you begin to heal. The most dangerous mask is the one you wear for yourself, the one where you convince yourself that everything's fine, that you're not hurting, that you're happy doing what everyone else wants, that you're not lonely, that you don't need more. But deep down, something aches, something tightens, something whispers, this isn't it. Listen to that voice. It's not here to destroy your life, it's here to bring you back to it. The real you may be angry, tired, confused, joyful, sensual, creative, restless, alive, and that's okay, that's human. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be whole, and wholeness only comes when you stop hiding from yourself. So ask yourself now, who am I when no one is watching? What do I love when I'm not trying to be impressive? What do I need when I stop trying to need nothing? Who was I before the world told me who to be? That person is still here, beneath the mask, beneath the armor, beneath the airs of trying to be good enough. That person is waiting, not to be created, but to be remembered. So take a breath, take your time. You don't have to know exactly who you are right away. You just have to be willing to find out, willing to let go of who you're not, willing to take the risk of being seen, because the most radical thing you can do in a world built on performance is to be real.
At some point in your journey, maybe without even realizing it, you locked a part of yourself away, not because you were weak, not because you were broken, but because it felt safer, because somewhere along the way, you were taught directly or indirectly that who you truly are wasn't acceptable, that your needs were too much, that your emotions were a burden, that your dreams were unrealistic, that your voice made people uncomfortable. So you adapted. You trimmed parts of yourself down to fit into boxes you didn't build. You betrayed your truth, not out of malice, but out of necessity. And so you learned the quiet art of self-abandonment,
It starts subtly. You say yes when you mean no. You smile when something hurts. You hide what you feel, so others don't feel uncomfortable. You shrink your joy, your brilliance, your truth, because somewhere deep down, a voice inside whispers, "This is too much, I am too much." The tragedy is not just that the world asks you to betray yourself, it's that eventually, you agree. You begin to enforce the rules of your own imprisonment. You tell yourself the same lies the world once told you. I shouldn't feel this way. I need to get over it. No one wants to hear this. I don't matter. And every time you swallow your truth, another brick is added to the walls around your soul. It's a prison built from silence, from pleasing, from pretending, a prison made of masks and obligations and shame. But worst of all, it's a prison that feels like home, because you've lived in it for so long. You decorate it with achievements. You hang pictures of your best moments. You tell yourself stories like, "I'm just being responsible," or "I don't have time to fall apart," or "This is just what adulthood looks like." But underneath it all, your soul is banging on the walls, begging to be let out. Self-betrayal is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like overworking, overgiving, overthinking. It looks like being the dependable one, the strong one, the one who never complains. It looks like putting everyone else first and calling it love. But love that cost you your own wholeness is not love, it's martyrdom. And the longer you live this way, the more disconnected you feel from yourself, from joy, from aliveness, until one day you wake up and it feels like your life belongs to someone else. But there's a truth that waits in the shadows of that inner prison. You were never meant to live this way. You were born to belong to yourself, to trust your own voice, to feel fully, to take up space, to say no when something hurts, to walk away when something doesn't fit, to speak your truth even when it shakes, and most importantly, to stop abandoning yourself in the name of being loved. Real healing begins the moment you decide to come back to yourself, to turn inward, not with judgment, but with curiosity, to ask, where did I start leaving myself? When did I learn it wasn't safe to be me? Whose love did I have to earn by becoming someone else? These questions are not meant to break you. They're meant to set you free, because the moment you name the betrayal, you begin to undo it. It takes courage to reclaim your soul. It takes tenderness to sit with the parts of you that have been exiled. The inner child who was shamed for feeling too deeply. The teenager who silenced their truth to keep the peace. The adult who learned that staying small was the only way to stay safe. These parts of you are not gone. They're just waiting for you to come back and say, "I see you now. I'm sorry I left. I'm here." And that's what healing really is. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about finding the places where you lost yourself and gently returning. It's about making a sacred vow. I will no longer betray myself to keep others comfortable. That vow will change everything. You will start saying no without guilt. You will start asking for what you need, even if your voice shakes. You will start trusting your own intuition, instead of outsourcing your truth to others. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. You will worry that people will be disappointed, that they'll leave, that they won't recognize the new you. But the truth is, this isn't a new you, it's the real you. The one who's been hidden behind the masks and the roles and the people pleasing. The one who is ready to breathe again. It's okay if you don't know exactly how to come home to yourself. Just begin with honesty. Begin with the moment you notice you're ignoring your needs. The moment you feel resentment rising. The moment you hear that inner voice whispering, "This isn't right." Those are sacred invitations. Follow them, honor them, let them guide you. And understand this, you are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not broken for feeling disconnected. You are not dramatic or needy or ungrateful for wanting more than survival. You are human, and humans are not meant to live as machines, constantly producing, pleasing, performing. You are meant to feel, to rest, to dream, to create, to connect, to love and be loved in your fullness. No one else can give you permission to reclaim yourself. No one else can do the inner work of liberation for you. But you can begin. You can choose, today, to stop betraying your soul, to say, "Enough, I choose me." And from that choice your life will begin to transform. Because once you decide to no longer live in the prison of self-abandonment, every door begins to unlock, slowly, yes, tenderly, yes,
but surely. And on the other side is something you've been aching for all along. Not just freedom but belonging. Not just success but peace. Not just validation, but wholeness. You've lived long enough in a life that asks you to disappear. It's time to reclaim the one that lets you finally exist. You've walked through shadows. You've faced the silence. You've confronted the masks, the roles, the weight of everything you were told to be. And now, at the edge of all that unlearning, you stand at a threshold, the return to yourself. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new one. A life where you no longer run from who you are. A life where you listen to the quiet wisdom in your chest. A life where your emotions are not enemies but sacred messengers. Where your needs are not shameful, but worthy of tenderness. Where your voice is no longer muted, but honored. First by you and then by the world. There will still be days when doubt creeps in. When the old habits pull at your heels, whispering that it's safer to go back to pleasing, performing, pretending. But you'll be different now. You'll recognize those voices for what they are. Ghosts of a life you no longer owe yourself to. You'll begin choosing differently, more gently, more consciously. You'll build boundaries that honor your energy. You'll give love without losing yourself in it. You'll rest without guilt. You'll trust your inner knowing. Not because it's always easy, but because you finally understand that your soul was never the problem. The world just didn't know how to hold it, but you do now. You are the one who knows how to hold yourself. You are the one you've been waiting for. And in this return, in this fierce and quiet reclaiming of your truth, you will begin to experience something that no outside success could ever give you. Peace, not the kind that comes from escaping, but the kind that comes from arriving, fully, unapologetically, completely, into your own life. So let this be your vow. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more abandoning the parts of me that are inconvenient, emotional, sensitive, wild or strange. From this moment forward, I choose to belong to myself. I choose to walk with my whole self, shadow and light, pain and power, softness and strength. I choose to live fully. I choose to live free, because you are not here to be small. You are not here to survive on scraps. You are not here to disappear for someone else's comfort. You are here to rise, to speak, to feel, to remember, to return, to live. Welcome back.